So this is coming on YouTube the same day I record it, but I think it's relevant for the whole series. Like I think this is gonna be a long running mystery, so might as well put it here rather than like when it would go into chronology of like because I'm about to record episode 112, right? And I think today the episode coming out is going to be 74, right? So who knows like where this information came. I don't remember what episode it came from, but I mentioned something in 111 about how Ace and Luffy both have the middle initial D. So I was like, okay, that's that was interesting. I said these are the only two people we know about, and I think I speculated on it a little bit, right? And then somebody in the comments was like, well, we know of a third person with the name D that happened in some previous episode quite a while back. So it was during I think it was the Alabaster arc. The doctor was talking to another guy. I'm terrible at these character names, but well, let me just show you real quick. These two mofo's right here. These two. So I don't need character names. I can just show you these two. You know who these two people are. Okay, so they're talking about a third person who has middle initial D, Gold D. Roger. So that's very interesting. So we have three people who, and Goldie Roger, I just don't think has any familial connection to him. Now, he quite possibly might have a familial connection to him, but I don't think so. That'd be a little on the nose, right? You know, Luke Skywalker is related to so and so, and Ray's related to so and so, and possibly could have been related to somebody else, and everything's connected, everything's interbred, it's all tied. It's Targaryens all the way down, right? Like, we don't need everybody to be effing related to each other for the story to matter. So, I don't think, not to put too fine a point on it, I don't think the author is a hack, is what I'm saying. And that would be kind of a hack move. So, no, they're not related to each other. So, what does it mean? What's with this D? Is it an abbreviation or is it just a title? The D itself is just a title. George R. R. Martin, the R's don't stand for anything. It's a reference to J.R.R. Tolkien. You know, he was being cheeky. So sometimes the middle initial is just the middle initial. So it's not beyond the pale for two brothers to have the same middle initial. I found it interesting. It seemed important, but I had forgotten that Gold D. Roger, like that these two had this conversation. Gold D. Roger also has a middle initial D, which he didn't. Apparently, a lot of people don't know about anymore. Because the other guy she was talking to says, it's just Gold Roger. You mean Gold Roger? She says, oh, is that what he's going by these days? So it's like disappears, falling out of the lexicon. He's just Gold Roger now. He's not Gold D. Roger. And then she says, so it still exists. The will of the D. What the hell does that mean? Obviously, I'm not asking for spoilers. If you know, like maybe it's still something that has been revealed in episode 1400, whatever, right? Maybe it has. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be. If I was to predict when it'd be revealed, I'd say 500, 600, something. I don't think it's anytime soon. I think they love the long. The author loves the long game, the long con, the long mystery, right? So that's what I'm thinking. So, what does it all mean? The will of the D still exists. Sounds like a curse. So we're either talking about a curse or some other kind of magic spell, or an entity. The will of God, right? I once read a story called Mommy's Will. She had strong willpower, but it's also literally about her will. She left a will. See, that the will is one of those interesting words that can mean different things. Wake can mean different things. You wake up. Neil Gaiman played with this. You wake up, or you have a wake for somebody who's died. And he used it both ways in the same story. Here, Mommy's will was talking about her willpower, which was very strong, but also she left a will for her children after she died. So the word will can mean a lot of different things. It's a very useful word when you're trying to obfuscate the truth, right? You're trying to keep everything murky and like not let us like obsessive fans who have years and years and years to obsess over these things pick out through the details and figure it out. So I'm not going to figure out here after just 111 episodes. But it's either the will of an entity, a literal will, but if it's the literal will, what power would that have over people naming things? Well, it could be kind of like in Bag of Bones. Stephen King had there was this ghost. This person died in this horrific way, and so this ghost had this power that was just radiating. It was like radiation poisoning. It was radiating out in a circle from the body outwards, and was influencing people to name their children. So, any child who was born within this radius of this ghost was named something similar. Like it started with a K, right? People had the first letter of their name started with a K, boy or girl, and a lot of things. Carl, you normally start with a C, it was with a K in this radius, right? And you look through the phone book and you see all these Ks. It's like, damn, there's a lot of people. And then anybody who didn't have the first name K was not born in this area. And this is over the space of like 80 years, right? People who'd move in there had normal names. So that kind of like, again, obfuscated the truth, right? Made it less clear, less apparent what was happening. Anybody born within this radius had the first name K. The ghost's will, it was imposed. And this was just a secondary, this had nothing to do with the plot. It was just a secondary influence of what was happening with this. This ghost was so powerful, influencing everything. Just getting into people's subconsciousness and making them do things, like just from sheer force of will, right? Is this something like that? Is this something like if you have a certain inclination to do things, like say be an adventurer, maybe your parents are influenced to use that name, that middle initial, just force of will from an entity, right? Or a curse or a spell or something, like, maybe not a literal document that is a will, but like, like when because Gold Roger died, maybe it emanates from him. I talked before about how he gave this speech and he started the entire story. The world that exists in this story, all these pirates, all these adventurers, all these people going out, are because of what he said. He inspired a generation of people to go do this, go have adventures. The One Piece may not even be a literal treasure, but he's put that thought in their brain, incepted their minds, and made them go out. He started everything. Gold Roger started everything. The sheer force of his will caused an entire generation of people to change the way they do things. Like, instead of just staying home, they started going out and exploring, having adventures, getting into fights, of course, profiteering, of course. The evil people are going to do the evil things, but they would have done evil things maybe in their own county instead of going out into the world and doing them if they hadn't been inspired by Gold Roger. He started it all. So maybe it's just him having that middle initial. Maybe it's as simple as that. Him having the middle initial just permeates any parents who have an inclination or see something in their kids. Of course, they're just born, so who knows? But like, to just bestow that middle initial upon their children. Like, same, I assume it's the same mother. They had one parent in common if they're brothers, right? We don't necessarily think that maybe they have both parents in common. Maybe they do. I don't know. But whatever parent named them, probably the mother. The mother had to be around long enough to have a second child, so I'm going to say the mother, right? For him to have the same middle initial. I'm not going to try to make any assumptions that can get me trapped later when I'm like, I've been having the same assumption for a long time and I'm wrong. So I have a lot of wrong thoughts about that. But I'm assuming mother. The mother was influenced in some way by Gold Roger to give them both the middle name. Because he's had it, like, I think when he was the smallest we saw him, when he was really young, he was already a D, right? So that came at birth. It wasn't something you earned when you're 10 years old, like a Bob Mitzvah or something. It could be as simple as that. Because, like, for instance, the numbers in Lost, and no spoilers here, just the numbers in Lost, they meant something literally within the show. There is a literal reason for why they exist and what's happening with them, okay? But, and I've talked to one of the Lost writers about this, there is also a thematic reason that was much more important. Thematically, they meant something completely different than the literal reason. So you could have the literal reason why the D exists, but what really matters is the thematic reason. Thematically, the author wants us to compare these two brothers with Gold D. Roger. Thematically, he wants us, okay, he really is a chip off the old block. They're not blood related, I hope, because the writer's not a hack, but they are spiritually related. Now, maybe the author believes in reincarnation. Maybe that's what's going on. Reincarnation. Like maybe Ace is literally the reincarnation of Gold Roger, and so that's the connection. So it's the thing. Like when you actually find out what the numbers mean literally in the show, you're disappointed. But then when you realize what they mean thematically, you're like, oh, okay, well that's what matters anyway. So the literal reason for the D could be one thing, and maybe that is disappointing. But the thematic reason, I think, at this point, just barely 5% into the story, I think the thematic reason is just for us to think about there is a connection between this character from the past and this character in the present. He's the chosen one. But he's not the chosen one because he has magic powers. He ate a fruit to get the powers. He's a chosen one because of his personality, his spirit. Maybe literal spirit if he's reincarnated, but probably more figurative spirit. In that he is an adventurer. He's here for the fun. He's not here to pillage, steal, hurt people. He's just here for the fun. So, we don't know much about Roger. He seemed like he was a little bit on the darker side of piracy, but we don't really know. But those are my thoughts right now. And it's good, and I'm always glad when people remind me of things. Like, here's the thing. I never want spoilers for the future, that's obvious. But I love to be reminded of things we've already seen. That's fair game. I go back and rewatch stuff sometimes. That's fair game. You need to do that because there's going to be so much mythology, so many characters, so much going on. There's no way to keep it all in your head watching it once, right? So this is the kind of thing to revisit. I feel like the D thing is important thematically. I don't know how important it's going to be functionally, literally, but I think it's very important thematically, and it does help me. I need to keep this in mind when I'm analyzing Luffy. That he's probably a chip off the old block, but maybe his brother even more so. His brother could literally be the reincarnation, so that would be interesting. But we're following Luffy. We're not following the brother, so we'll see how that works out.